Hey there, my name is Todd Watley. I'm a certified elder law attorney, and we are doing a series on Medicaid. And if this is your first video, good. This is a good introductory specifics on how to qualify for Medicaid, what you can have and what you can't. But please subscribe to my channel so that you can see all of the videos that go into various topics of Medicaid, okay? Come back in just a second and we'll talk about qualification for Medicaid. All right. Hey there, welcome back. This is a series on Medicaid, and I hope that you're learning something. If this is your first video, good. This is probably a good first one because we're going to talk about the qualification, what it takes to generally qualify for Medicaid. So Medicaid looks at physical, and that's something we don't affect, we don't plan for, it just happens. Where Medicaid planning comes into play is for the assets and for the income, okay? So let's talk about the assets. As a general rule, to qualify for Medicaid, you have to be under $2,000, all right? The person applying for Medicaid has to be under $2,000. Now, Medicaid will look at all of your assets, and when they look at all of your assets, there are categories of assets. There are non-countable, which means things you can own and still qualify, and there are countable assets, all right? Non-countable are just the basic things that a person needs to survive. Your home, your household furnishings, a vehicle, and then a prepaid burial plan. All right, so those are things you can own and still qualify. Everything else gets counted, okay? Now, let's go back to the non-countable assets. What are the value of those? Is there a value limitation? And the answer is yes, on some. On your home, you're either in a state where your home needs to be about $600,000 or less, or in some states, typically the coastal states where real estate's extremely expensive, that number gets up to close to $1 million. I think it's 850, somewhere around there. I don't ever deal with it because I'm not in that state. But a good question is, even in the poorest states, why would Medicaid let me keep a $600,000 house and still qualify for Medicaid? The reason being is they put a lien on your house at the time of your death so they can get their money back, all right? So, yes, you can own your home, and if you're married, that's really good idea because the community spouse gets to live there, but if you're single, it's really not a good idea because all of your income typically goes to pay for your care. There is no income to pay insurance on your house, taxes on your house, upkeep on your house, and so yes, you can own a house, but you can't pay for it. And so to keep the house, typically the family pays for it, only to be rudely surprised at the time of your death when the state shows up with a bill to say, y'all need to sell that house and pay us back. And if the Medicaid bill is more than the house, there's a good chance the family doesn't get anything. And they paid all this money for these years while you were in the nursing home. So it's generally not a good idea to keep your house, but you can, okay? Household furnishings, they really don't care. Vehicle, there's typically a limit. It's a really low value limit, but most states waive that to say if the vehicle is going to be used for your medical care, which it probably will be, they don't count the value, all right? And then a prepaid burial, some states have limitations on how much you can spend, but it's pretty high, I think, like $15,000. But your typical reasonable burial plan, you purchase that. If it's irrevocable contract with the company, that becomes a non-countable asset. And they do that just because they want to make sure that you can get buried and that your family doesn't cash it in after you get qualified for Medicaid and they get the money back. They want to make sure it's there for your burial. All right. Income. Income's interesting, and income is anything that comes into your bank account and has been there less than 30 days. All right. So typical income is Social Security, pension, things like that, but also is a lump sum payment like a inheritance But then sometimes you'll have royalties, oil and gas, things like that. When those come into your bank account, that is known as income. All right. Now, some states have a income cap, meaning that if your income is over a certain amount, you don't qualify for Medicaid, and some other states don't have that limit. What's interesting in the income cap states is the limit on Medicaid is nowhere near the cost of a nursing home. So if your income cap is, say, $2,300 and a nursing home costs $6,000, if you make $2,400 a month, you're disqualified from Medicaid, but you still can't pay for the nursing home because you only make $2,400 a month. So therefore, in the states that have a income cap, you can do what is legally known as a irrevocable income-only trust. That is a trust that holds your income only, obviously, and then pays the nursing home. And since it is irrevocable and the state is the beneficiary, once the money goes in there, you really don't control the money anymore. And it's as if you don't own it. Okay. You don't benefit from it, sort of, and you don't control it. Now, it does go to pay for your care. Okay. So you do benefit in that income goes into the trust and then goes to the nursing home to pay for your care. That trust is commonly known as a Miller Trust. Mr. Miller was a Colorado resident who went to court back in the 90s, and he got this created for us through a federal lawsuit. And so it is commonly known as a Miller Trust, but the technical name is an irrevocable income-only trust. Okay, so do the Miller Trust and you'll be okay. Don't let someone tell you, oh, your income's too high, you won't qualify. You've just got to jump through some hoops, and the Miller Trust is the hoop. All right. I think that's about it on Medicaid, basics of Medicaid qualifications. Remember, assets, things you've had for more than 30 days, things that you own. There are non-countable, which is your home, household furnishings, one vehicle, and prepaid burial. There's some other things that could be, depending on your state, but just those are the big four. Everything else gets counted, and that has to be under $2,000 for the person qualifying for Medicaid. Now, for a single person, that's the rule. They've got to be under $2,000. There's another video on single person planning. But if you're married, please understand, don't let that $2,000 number scare you, because there's some really creative things we can do to get the money to the other spouse. Only the spouse qualifying for Medicaid has to be under $2,000. There are ways to get those assets to the other spouse and protect it. That's a whole different video. Go look it up. All right. So I hope you learned something. This is a series on Medicaid. Please subscribe to my channel. You will be updated when anything new is added, and you will see the list of videos, and you can see the entire Medicaid planning series. And if I didn't cover something, let me know. Okay, please email me, please leave a comment. We check those, and I'll be glad to do a video that you need. All right, thanks for joining us. Keep coming back. Thanks.